You see it in the silence before a storm, the stillness that settles on the mountain ranges of northern China. There, winding like a serpent across earth and stone, lies something that does not whisper. It roars through the centuries. It is not a wall. It is a witness. They say the Great Wall of China is just a barrier of brick and bone, but the truth is that it is a testament, a monument not only to might, but to fear, sacrifice, and an obsession that stretched across 2,000 years. But before it was called great, before the blood and the stone and the thunder of history, it was just an idea born out of chaos. In the Warring States period, centuries before the rise of a single Chinese emperor, the land was fractured. China was not yet China. It was a collection of rival kingdoms: Chu, Qi, Yan, Zhao, Wei, Qin. Each built walls, not for glory, but for survival. For each feared the wild winds blowing from the north, from the steppes where horsemen rode like ghosts, fierce and unrelenting. These early fortifications were crude, made of earth, wood, and desperation. And still, the danger crept closer. Then came the year 221 BCE. A warlord named Ying Zheng, who called himself Qin Shi Huang, united the warring states under one iron banner. He declared himself the first emperor of China, but unity brought more than peace. It brought paranoia. To the north, the Xiongnu, nomadic raiders and horse archers, loomed like a shadow across the empire's edge. Qin Shi Huang looked to the splintered walls of the past and saw not relics, but possibility. He would link them, fortify them, extend them, not as many walls, but as one, not as defense, but as dominion. And so began one of the most ambitious construction projects in human history. Thousands, no, hundreds of thousands were conscripted. Soldiers, peasants, convicts, not asked, ordered. Driven to the frontiers of civilization with picks, ropes, and bare hands. At the command of General Meng Tian, the wall took shape, not in luxury, but in sweat and screams. Rammed earth was pressed into massive slabs, built up foot by agonizing foot. Winding across deserts, mountains, and ravines, places where men were not meant to survive. And many didn't. They died of exhaustion, starvation, exposure. And when they fell, there were no burials, no honors. Their tombs became the wall itself, bone in mortar, flesh beneath stone. They called it the longest cemetery on earth. And yet, it rose. The wall stood, but Qin Shi Huang did not. His empire was short-lived. His dynasty crumbled under its own cruelty. But the wall, it endured. Through dynasty after dynasty, the Great Wall became both weapon and warning. The Han Dynasty extended it westward, protecting the fragile veins of the Silk Road, where spices and silk flowed alongside secrets and spies. The northern Qi, Jin, and Sui dynasties mended and mended again, fighting new threats, sealing old breaches. The Tang, Song, and Yuan dynasties ignored it, thinking they had mastered the barbarians. But history never forgets. It was during the Ming Dynasty, centuries later, that the wall became what the world recognizes today. And what drove them to rebuild it was vengeance, because the Mongols had come. And they had not asked for permission. The Yuan Dynasty, built by Kublai Khan, had ruled China for a time. But when the Ming rose and cast the Mongols back to the steppes, they knew the price of weakness. Never again, they vowed, would the gate be left open. The Ming began to rebuild. But this was not patchwork. This was revolution, brick by brick, tower by tower, watchposts every mile, beacons that lit the skies with signals of war. They built with stone, with intention, and with wrath. Over 8,800 kilometers of wall clawing through the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. The cost, unfathomable. The purpose, singular. The Ming would make the wall a spine of steel, a declaration not of fear, but of control. But even as they built, the lesson of every brick loomed. No wall, no matter how tall, can hold back time. For walls cannot march. They cannot speak. They cannot change their minds. And while the Ming fortified from within, the world outside evolved. Faster, smarter, bolder. And the final test was coming. Not with the rage of horse hooves, but with a treaty, a betrayal, a single open gate. The year was 1644. The Ming dynasty, after centuries of rule, was crumbling from within. Corruption, famine, rebellion. The empire's heart was bleeding. To the north, the Manchus waited. They were not strangers to China's politics. They had studied its culture, its armies, its ambitions. They did not plan to storm the wall. They planned to use it. Inside the wall, a general, Wu Songui, faced a rebellion tearing the capital apart. In desperation, he made a choice. He opened the Shanhaiguan Pass, and the Manchus flowed through, not as raiders, but as conquerors. The wall, so painstakingly constructed to keep out the enemy, became the very road on which they rode to Beijing. The Great Wall had done its job, until it couldn't, because even a wall of stone cannot defend against the betrayal of men. The Qing dynasty rose in the ashes of the Ming, and the wall, it was neglected, forgotten. In an age of gunpowder, diplomacy, and internal consolidation, the wall was no longer seen as a tool of strategy, but a relic of a bygone era. And so it weathered. The rain beat it. The wind wore it. Stones were stolen by villagers. Towers collapsed into dust. But legends do not die. Centuries passed. Foreigners arrived, explorers, historians, treasure hunters. They looked upon the wall and saw more than crumbling bricks. They saw the ambition of emperors, the agony of workers, the obsession of a civilization that sought to define its edge. And slowly, a new image of the wall began to emerge. Not as a fortress, but as a symbol of the perseverance of a people, of a nation that had endured war, famine, invasion, and revolution, yet still stood. The wall, though broken in places, was undeniable. In the 20th century, the People's Republic of China began restoring sections of the wall, not as defense, but as heritage. Tourists flocked to Badaling, where the wall stretches in defiant majesty across the ridges. UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site in 1987. Today, drones fly above its towers. Children laugh as they run across its battlements. Scholars measure every stone, but they all feel the same chill. The weight of time pressing down upon the very ground beneath their feet. Because the wall does not exist in the present. It lives in the breath of the past. So what is the truth of the Great Wall? It is not simply defense, or power, or glory. It is a mirror of ambition, of fear, of human tenacity. It is 21,000 kilometers long, but its story is longer. Built by emperors, defended by warriors, haunted by the cries of those who perished within its stones. The wall is not great because it is tall, or wide, or ancient. It is great because it reminds us that even the mightiest creations of mankind are fragile, and yet, even in ruin, they inspire. The Great Wall of China was not built to last forever, but its legacy, that is eternal.